Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster. Here to bring you some more Pokemon Go GBL battles. These battles take place in Summer Cup. Summer Cup, if you haven't looked into it yet or haven't tried it, eligible types are Fire, Electric, Water, Grass, Bug, and Normal. And it's actually a pretty healthy meta, considering how not super healthy the last couple of metas have felt. This one seems like it might be one of the better ones from this season. There's not a lot of just fast move beatdown teams. The meta is pretty diverse. We get to see a lot of things in use that we don't normally see. I'm just like swapping over really quick to the PvPoke rankings. And like, sure, Trevenant is allowed, and when we scroll down further, you see that like Walrein is allowed. So Walrein, Trevenant are there. But without things like Registeel, Medicham, like most of the normal fighters that we use are not here, and most of the steel types are not here. So it's really just, it feels like a completely fresh meta. Like, it really does not seem similar to anything that we've had before. And it's nice to see weird things like Jumpluff, although I don't think I've encountered one, and like Cradily, and like the top Pidgeot is here. Alolan Graveler is good. So, you know, yeah, you still see a lot of things that people are very comfortable using, like, you know, Swampert, Vigoroth, those of Pokemon that have been very popular for lots of cups. Lickitung is still super strong, but like Shadow Zapdos is up there, and that's awesome. But yeah, I'm not playing these battles live or anything. I definitely recorded these battles last night when the meta was still pretty fresh. It had only been out for about 8 hours, and this was just me coming off of my stream and deciding, you know what, I actually want to play more. So I ended up playing my battles after midnight last night. So let's see how that went. So this is the team that I'm running. I get a really terrible start in this first match. Like, you know, encountering Walrein, Trevenant right away, and in the wrong order. Like, if this order had been reversed, I would be doing great. But, you know, yeah. So I throw the Sludge Bomb with Swampert, and since I'm going to be able to throw my Hydro Cannon, which would threaten the KO, I decide to shield there, and then I lag here instead, and then it catches me up, but I'm, like, you know, losing CMP to this tree, so, yeah. So this first battle really doesn't go, you know, amazingly. I'm down a shield, and I lost alignment, so it's like about as bad as it could be. You know, my Swampert went down with a Hydro Cannon plus of energy. I eat this Icicle Spear, and then I swap out into my Blaziken, and my opponent switches in their Obstagoon, which gives me the sensation of hope, which is always nice to have. I am going to shield this because it should be a Cross Chop, and that Cross Chop would hurt because Blaziken is super squishy. Walrein's going to come back out, but, I mean, I do resist ice. So I'm going to be able to resist these Powder Snows, and I'm going to resist the Icicle Spear if he decides to throw that. He doesn't get to sneak a move in there, so that means this is a CMP, so my Blaze Kick goes shielded because they have to shield, and I resist this Icicle Spear, but it still hurts because Blaziken is that squishy. I get 2 of those moves off, but I do have a Sky Attack loader on my Noctowl, so somehow or other, I managed to come back from that really awful lead into a really bad swap, into lagging and like going down a shield and losing switch advantage. Just, you know, kind of got lucky there with what happened to be left over in the back for my Blaziken, but yeah, that was not super comfortable. And this is also a really terrible lead. I switch into my Blaziken, and my opponent stays in for a while, which is great. I no-shield this because it could only be a Rock Blast, and it still did an awful lot of damage, and I should have just thrown the Brave Bird here, but for whatever reason, I thought maybe I'd get to 2 moves when it's really quite obvious I'm not gonna. Thankfully, my opponent shields, so I end up getting in 1 extra punch, which is totally irrelevant. And I bring my Noctowl out. So this is the team that I'm running, right? I am leading with Noctowl. Noctowl with Wing Attack, Sky Attack, and Shadow Ball. And in the back, I have Swampert that I am running Sludge Bomb on. Sludge Wave? Sludge Wave? Sludge Bomb? Pretty sure it's Sludge Wave on a Swampert. And I have Blaziken. So Blaziken is actually considered kind of meta here, and I know we saw him do a decent amount of work in the last game. My gosh, this matchup. I always seem to get my Swampert lined up with a Trevenant, and that's one of the reasons that I really, you know, feel like I have to carry Sludge Wave in this meta. Like, it doesn't really make the Walrein matchup any better, but it doesn't really make it that much worse either. Like, you know, you still lose it, but it's not horrendous. I feel like Sledge Wave kind of mandatory because there's just so many Trevenants still. So, admittedly, this is just like, you know, 8 hours after the meta was released that I'm playing these sets. So there is going to be a lot of churn. So I'm not even sure that this is like the team that I'm going to be running continuously for all of this meta. But it was a fun team that I played that I like kind of put together on stream and ran it for a while, and it seemed to be working out pretty well. You know, I lost 2 leads here. So I don't know, maybe Noctowl's not the most sensible lead because I seem to be losing a lot of leads, but I also seem to be coming back from those lost leads. So this is a lead that I actually win, right? Noctowl into Tropius, actually kind of fantastic. They swap into Alolan Graveler, and I'm just going to bring out my Blaziken into this, and I'm going to have to shield this. I mean, I guess I don't have to shield that. It's just a Rock Blast. Actually, yeah, you know what? Nah, Rock Blast probably would have. It hits for neutral. I mean, Blaziken's super squishy. I probably wouldn't have survived. I probably had to shield that either way. So I throw Blaze Kick against Tropius, which like doesn't make that much sense. I feel like I should have just Brave Birded and then tried to build up to another Brave Bird, because I'm only going to get 2 moves off. Like, why wouldn't I throw the Brave Bird? Then that would mean Tropius would get less farm. Like, this really just is not the most... like, watching this over, this really isn't super solid play or anything, but I definitely team comped my opponent pretty badly in that game, so I won anyway. So in this next game, I missed even who it was, started recording late, but we've got Noctowl into a Shadow Swampert, which is actually, like, an okay matchup. So Noctowl against regular Swampert, you actually survive 2 Hydro Cannons. Against the Shadow Swampert, I don't. So, yeah, I'm going to let the first one of these go. And it does that much. And, I mean, I could shield this and then throw my move. And I guess I'm going to, but that does mean that they're going to end with, like, a little bit more energy. Because, you know, they can store up more energy before throwing their next Hydro Cannon. And, I mean, I'm going to be chipping this thing kind of low with Wing Attack. But they decide to throw their move really early. Like, they could have farmed up a lot more energy, but I guess they want to preserve some health. Since they didn't have a ton of energy, I can bring Blaziken out onto this, and I am going to go for a farm down. Blaziken, between like Blaze Kick and Brave Bird, you can hit a lot of stuff pretty hard. So Diggersby comes out. I throw at 7 and they sneak in their 8th. And the reason I throw at 7 is because, you know, if Brave Bird doesn't KO, I'll be able to swap out. And I do, but like in retrospect, now that I've played this matchup out, I can very clearly see that if I had just thrown the 8th and then 1 CMP throwing my Brave Bird, it would have KO'd, and then, you know, I'd have, you know, some Blaziken left over, and like, you know, for this Trevenant, which would end up completely annihilating my Swampert anyway, so it probably doesn't make a difference. And yeah, they go for a farm down on my Swampert and Shadow Ball my Blaziken, and that's GG. So I don't know. Probably couldn't have won against Trevenant anyway, but actually, you know what? Yeah, if I had thrown my 8th counter against Diggersby and then Brave Birded, I would have actually won that, because, you know, Blaziken ended with a decent amount of energy. I would have only had to throw 2 counters before getting to a Blaze Kick. So unfortunate for me that I didn't know the matchups, but I didn't do a ton of research before I started playing these games. I just built a team, jumped in on stream, and then modified the team a little bit, settled on this and played it and enjoyed it, and figured, you know what, let me try getting good with this. So definitely kind of a big learning process going on here. In this next game, we both insta-swap out. I'm not sure why they even swapped out to their Galv, but I mean, I'm going to bring in my Swampert. And the thing about Galvantula is that it can learn Energy Ball. So they throw a Lunge here. Lunge Energy Ball, I don't know if that would be the probable move set, but I'm definitely worried that they've still got it, and I 100% need to maintain alignment, or at least I would really like to. So I'm going to shield this also, and it turns out to just be another Lunge. And here, now that I'm double debuffed, I'm going to throw this Hydro Cannon, and I thought it would still be enough to KO, but it's actually not. And because it's not, I end up having to eat this next lunge. If I had just thrown the Sludge Wave, I would have, you know, KO'd them. Yeah, that's just one of those minor improvements, one of those things that I didn't know about, you know, because I didn't really research that. And there is a Jellicent in the back. So actually, alignment kind of nice. Definitely need to bring Noctowl out onto this. I am going to build up 2 and throw this super effective Shadow Ball. It does that much, which is not enough. And Jellicent could have thrown something by then, pretty sure. Although this is Bubble, so it does build up a little slower. Actually, no. Maybe they were just 1 away from the Ice Beam. No, 5 to the Ice Beam, just like Azu. They could have thrown an Ice Beam if they had it. If they didn't, then I guess they were just trying to build up excess energy. Regardless, I had a... yeah, for their Lickitung on the back, I had my Blaziken, so that was probably a GG regardless once I managed to win alignment there. So I get a Carablast, and that's nice because I still need a hundo of that so that I can make a Master League Escavalier. Not that that's something anyone should ever really make, but I might, because, I mean, why not? And I really like Escavalier, just, you know, I'm a little biased on that. So that's a 4-1. I go up to 29.67. I did not have great success when I was playing on stream the day before, so I'm definitely a little lower than I was earlier. But that is fine. At least my Q times are fast. So Noctowl into Pelipper. I've played this matchup out a couple of different ways at this point. If you Shadow Ball, then you can just farm them down if they no shield. So that might be the way to go. If you just Wing Attack, then they can reach a Hurricane, which doesn't KO you or anything, but I'm still going to end up having to throw this next Wing Attack, or they will reach a Weather Ball and take me out. And there's a Noctowl in the back, which I guess my Noctowl, or sorry, there's a Marowak in the back, which my Noctowl is the hardest response to, but that's alright. I've still got a Swampert. They safe swap into their Vigoroth, and I am going to have to shield this Body Slam because it does so much damage. So I'm going to throw my Blaze Kick here right when we're at CMP. So if they decide to shield this, then they are kind of low enough for me to farm down with Swampert. So I thought about it for a while and decided to let this go. And the Body Slam KOs me because Blaziken, again, super squishy. I would have loved to have gotten in one more counter so that I'd be able to just, you know, farm down and not have to eat a Body Slam here. I also am fully aware that the Marowak has a bunch of energy already. So I was hoping maybe they would insta-throw and I would win CMP, but they instead are just throwing their move. They let the first one of those go. I'm going to throw my second one after 1, and they are at 6. But, yeah, it looks like they're, I don't know, maybe they don't have Bone Club, or they just decided not to throw it. Yeah, but I'm able to reach a second Hydro Cannon, and I'm able to take out the Marowak, and that's a GG. I'm not sure. I did get Fire Blasted on stream the day earlier that day, so it might be that they're not, that they are actually that there's a decent amount of Marowaks that are running Shadow Bone and Fire Blast, because yeah, been blasted once, and my opponent was definitely at double Mud Bomb and could have thrown it if he had it, so might be a moveset thing. So in this game, I threw a Sludge Wave against the Jellicent, and that's like the wrong move to throw. Like, I'm used to Earthquake being there, so I just like, oh my gosh, threw it, and I definitely shouldn't have. In my defense, it's also like 2 in the morning at this point. I don't know why I would like, I don't know why I would do that though. That was a terrible decision. So I bring my Noctowl out, and I farm up about as much energy as I can afford to on this Jellicent, but at this point I'm gonna have to throw this Sky Attack. Jellicent, really, really strong answer to my Blaziken also. I'm going to throw this Sky Attack, just spamming it out, and then swap into Blaziken. And there's a Noctowl in the back, which is quite bad for me. I'm not even building up to a Brave Bird. I'm just trying to spam out these Blaze Kicks to do some kind of damage. You know, enough, I hope. Kind of have to shield this, just because my Noctowl's not healthy enough. I would just get farmed down by the opposing Noctowl. Here, I'm going to throw my next Blaze Kick, and it's... I don't think it would be barely enough to KO, but you know, they decide to shield, which is definitely the right move because I'm gonna have to shield. And their Vigoroth already has a Body Slam loaded, so I need to end this with a move. So my only option is to farm completely down, but there was absolutely no way I was gonna manage that. So yeah. Definitely not like the most favorable team comp for me because with the Jellicents in the back, even if I hadn't brought it out into my Swampert, like it would have destroyed me later anyway. But yeah, I 100% didn't play that out as well as I could have either. So Noctowl into Trevenant. This is a really, really fantastic lead. They safe swap into Blaziken, which is, you know, a safe swap that I use sometimes now. And yeah, I'm going to respond with Swampert because Swampert, you know, won't be able to get just countered down, and Blaziken builds up to its moves a little bit too slowly. Swampert just strongly outpaces. Since they throw a Blast Burn, I'm going to throw one extra Mud Shot before throwing this. If they had thrown a Blaze Kick, I would have just insta-thrown it to not risk them reaching another Blaze Kick. And Trevenant's going to come out and go for a farm down, and I am totally fine with that. Actually able to reach my Sledge Wave, but honestly, that feels pretty immaterial. Like, I don't think that it made any difference. Trevenant has so little ability to harm Noctowl, although I'm told a decent amount of people are running Trevenant with Foul Play because Noctowl exists. It improves the matchup, but it's still a dominating matchup for Noctowl, so I'm not too sure how many people are going to go that route. But I was definitely hearing whispers that that was like a thing to look out for and a thing that people were seeing. I haven't been Foul Played yet, though, for what it's worth. So I threw my move at the last second there against that that Ninetales, but yeah, just Trevenant left over in the back, and even if the Trevenant had had a ton of energy, there was no way it was going to get through my Noctowl. Absolutely no chance. So, Noctowl into Marowak. Also, pretty strongly favorable lead for me. They switch out into Walrein, and I am going to safe swap into my Blaziken. Blaziken is one of the hardest counters to a Walrein safe swap. And if you're really fast at swapping out, you can actually KO before they reach the Earthquake. 9 Powder Snows to get to the Earthquake. They just barely made it there. So I am forced to shield that, but that is all right. If I'm certain that they're going to make it and it looks like they're going to survive the Blaze Kick next time, it probably makes sense to instead shield once and then just go for a full farm down and end with like 100 energy. Because then you can just double Brave Bird, and as you can see, the Brave Bird does a lot of damage. It did a lot of damage to the Marowak. So left over in the back, there is a Shadow Swampert. I just immediately swapped my own Swampert out onto it. Swampert is going to be able to survive one Hydro Cannon from Shadow Swampy. Shadow Swampert could throw an Earthquake and one-shot in Great League. But since I managed to win CMP somehow, this opposing Swampert must have really amazing IVs. Yeah, I was just able to absorb that hit, and now I can bring my Noctowl out, and I can definitely shield this. There's like no risk of, you know, that Marowak could hit me with anything. Even if Marowak had a Fire Blast loaded, it wouldn't do enough. So yeah, I just wing attack down the Swampert, and that is a GG. Managed to take that game. All right, next up against Camillo, who has the Bug Catcher pose already, which is like a pretty cute pose. I like the net and the swing. So Noctowl into Pelipper again. I don't remember if I play this one out the same way or if I play this one out differently and actually go for the Shadow Ball. Yeah, I absorb the first Weather Ball, and I go for the Shadow Ball here, because I recognize, you know, if I'm able to land the Shadow Ball, then I can just farm down, and it puts me in a much better position. Whereas if they decide to shield that one, yes, they're going to be able to reach this Weather Ball and, you know, throw that, but I survive it, and I'll still be able to reach my Sky Attack, so seems like throwing the Shadow Ball is probably the way to go about it. And that lands, and then they decide to throw their move anyway. I mean, maybe if we wing attacked each other twice, it would have ended up being a simultaneous KO regardless. This Pelipper was left with a perfect amount of energy for Swampert to come farm out. And there is a Trevenant in the back, which is extremely bad for my backline. Thankfully, Swampert got all of that energy loaded already. Here I make a mistake, right? Which is I throw the Blaze Kick against Vigoroth. I should have just farmed up way more. Like, I should have recognized that my Blaze Kick wasn't going to KO and that they wouldn't shield. But yeah, I did not recognize it at the time. Like, now I know. So now I'll be better about it. But, you know, this would have been a lot better for me if I had just farmed down. But that's all right. I'm going to get my Swampert out onto this Trevenant, and my Swampert already has a ton of energy, so I'm going to land that Sludge Wave, which is not actually enough, and I get to this, but they win CMP, but that is all right. I think this Trevenant's already at back-to-back Seed Bomb here, so they throw the first Seed Bomb, but thankfully, you know, I made it to my Hydro Cannon, so this is going to go out at the last second, and I just barely managed to close out this game. That is a GG. I definitely could have played that a lot cleaner, which I have said so many times in this video, because honestly, like, most of the plays that I'm making so far with this team on, like, you know, day 1, day 2 of the meta with a Pokemon I never use, Blaziken, hello. Yeah. I'm just, like, incredibly unfamiliar with its matchups, so there is a lot to learn. I backed out there to, like, Mega my, one of my Charizards up to Mega level 2 to try to get an XL Candy out of this Axew, so, you know, I stay in and stare at this catch screen to watch it. And I don't get an XL Candy anyway, but, you know, I get a bunch of bonus candy. Reminder, there is bonus candy right now for landing nice, great, and excellent throws. So, a lot of opportunities to get a lot of candy. Doesn't help you get more XL Candy, though, evidently. But yeah, into this next set. That's 2 4-1s already with incredibly sloppy play. So, you know, at this point I was feeling pretty confident, so I'm like, yeah, you know, it's like 2 in the morning, maybe 2:30, but, like, let's hop into the next set anyway and just keep going, because, like, we're doing good and I'm feeling nice, I'm feeling confident. I'm back over 3,000, you know, MMR. So yeah, walked into a really terrible lead, had to shield my Swampert against that, but at least I got a shield first. And now I am greeted with a Mantine, which is, yeah, pretty strong response to Swampert, I guess. Like, they land the Ice Beam. I'm barely able to reach this next Sludge Wave. If they let this go, then, you know, I'll be able to take Swap. And they decide to shield, and I'm fine with that. So, you know, I'm not too like, knocking this out would have been nice just so that it but, like, you know, if they had let it go, then, you know, they'd have a shield and their Raichu would have been able to farm down my my Swampert, which would not have been ideal either. So I throw this a little bit too low. Spoilers, I wasn't actually counting, I was just kind of feeling it out, and yeah, it would have been better if I hadn't, you know, thrown that there. And then yeah, there is a Marowak left over in the back for my Blaziken. I decided to just throw the Brave Bird here, and because it's non-Shadow Marowak, it doesn't actually KO, and now I'm going to be taking additional damage. I have to shield this because, like, it's Bone Club, I know, but it would still KO. And I really just needed to not, like, to just commit to trying to farm this down. I throw the Blaze Kick there because they were at their next Bone Club, but that means that I get completely farmed down by this Raichu, and now they've got a move loaded, but I think they would have probably taken me out anyway, so yeah. Tough team composition. Probably didn't play that out as well as I could have, but I think I would have lost no matter what I did there. I don't know, not sure. Okay, into this next game. Unova Stunfisk in the lead. This is like the worst possible lead because it just is so strong against, like, 2 of my Pokemon, but it also is so thick that even if I'm able to farm something down with Noctowl, 2 Shadow Balls is not enough, and I mean, you know, my Wing Attack and Sky Attack are resisted, so that's, like, the only thing I can really do damage with. So I'm going to call this bait, and it turns out to be a Feather Dance, which is fine. Don't mind that at all. And they get to their move here, and I have to shield this, because if they Brave Bird me and take me out, you know, when my Swampert comes out, they'll end up just, you know, debuffing me, and then I'll have no play against anything, and there is a Tropius in the back for my Swampert. So, yeah. Yeah. Hard counters all around on this game also. Like, just there's not, I don't think there's any way that Swampert could possibly win this. Like, I managed to land the move, and now I'm going to throw my Hydro Cannon. This is going to force out the shield because this would be barely enough to KO. So they shield that, but I mean, you know, they build up a little bit excess energy, and now they're going to throw this Leaf Blade. The energy doesn't even really matter because Tropius can't really do that much against Noctowl. But I'm already at 100 energy, so I can't even really just, like, farm more. And I'm actually so low at this point that I have to throw that. And now I don't have 2 Shadow Balls loaded, so I have no hope of taking this out. But even if I had 2 Shadow Balls loaded, as you can see, it's actually nowhere near enough. Like, Stunfisk is the hardest wall to Noctowl. I had no play in the game at all. All right, neutral lead, so I'll consider that a win. So Noctowl into Noctowl. We didn't see a ton of these mirrors in this video, but I did play quite a few of these on stream. And apparently a lot of people have very, very good Noctowls, because mine's like rank 30 or so, but I lost CMP against like everything. This opponent is running a shiny Noctowl, and it's only at 1489, so I will most likely win CMP against it, but I'm not going to go for CMP. I'm actually just going to farm right through that, because I know from experience that we're both going to survive the Sky Attack, and I would rather wait until I'm super low before I throw this, so that maybe they'll let it go, and I can come in with Blaziken and go for a nice farm. They decide to let it go, and they come out with Vigoroth, which is fine for me. I'm going to bring out Blaziken, and they immediately swap into Trevenant, and I'm, like, stuck here now because, yeah, my Swampert doesn't really have any play against Trevenant. So, yeah, I would survive a Seed Bomb from here, but I'm going to shield it so that I can reach my next Blaze Kick for sure. Letting it go probably would have been the play, and then swapping out. Like, I'm trying to go for another Blaze Kick. They throw their Seed Bomb here. Maybe I should have shielded that and tried to survive, but it looks like I wasn't going to survive the 2 Shadow Claws I would need to survive to reach it. So instead I let that go. Gonna bring out Swampert. I shield the first Seed Bomb. I just need to make it to the Sludge Wave, but I am just short. Well, I'm actually 2 moves short because Trevenant would win CMP also, so not able to take out that tree. And, I mean, there was still a whole Vigoroth back there for me to contend with. So, Noctowl into Vigoroth. This is a surprisingly neutral lead. Like, Vigoroth is hitting me everything neutral, right? And I'm doing the exact same thing. Just Wing Attack and Sky Attack, hitting Vigoroth for neutral. Vigoroth using counter, but I'm like a normal slash flying, so I'm taking neutral damage from that and neutral damage from Body Slam. So it's all in all, it's a pretty neutral matchup. So I throw 1 Sky Attack against this Wigglytuff, and then I'm going to bring my Swampert out. I'm going to build up a little bit of excess energy, but I want to leave myself with some health because what I want to still be outside of Body Slam range, just so that it's still uncomfortable for Vigoroth to come in. So Vigoroth's going to come in, throw 2 counters, and now they're throwing their Body Slam. I am going to throw this Hydro Cannon, and they let it go. And at this point, my thought is, okay, well, if there's 1 Charmer in the back, there's a decent chance there's a 2nd Charmer in the back. So let me try to shield, because I won't need shields, that I will need health if there's another Charmer. And I can throw this Hydro Cannon, and we'll see what happens. And they decide to shield that. So at this point, I'm low, so I'm going to let this go. Land the Body Slam, and I'm going to bring out my Blaziken right away, and there is not a Charmer back there. Instead, it is a Shadow Zapdos. So Shadow Zapdos hits really, really hard. I'm going to throw this Blaze Kick. I'm pretty confident that Shadow Zapdos would one-shot me even if I was at full health. But, yeah, even the Thunder Shocks are doing a lot of damage. This Drill Peck probably does, like, 200% damage to me. But I'm making a terrible mistake in this game anyway. Like, I should have just, after I threw my Blaze Kick, swapped out to Noctowl and threw my move right away. Like, you know, they would be forced to try to farm me down, but I think we would end up simultaneous KOing or something if that happened. Instead, I just barely get outpaced to this move from Vigoroth, and I barely managed to lose that game. But, like, yeah, I had the move on Noctowl. After I threw that first Blaze Kick into Zapdos, I should have insta-swapped to Noctowl, and I could definitely have flipped that game. I did not play that out well at all. But in my defense, it's like 3 a.m. So, Yeah, I'm going to send my Swampert out into whatever they had, and they're going to respond by sending in Vigoroth, which I'm fine with. Like, I slightly outpace Vigoroth, but more importantly, you know, I'll survive one Body Slam, and they'll survive one of my moves, so I should be able, you know, if I'm not going to be able to force swap, I can at least, you know, force a shield out of them. Here, I end up shielding this, and I'm looking at it like, you know, I'm going to make it to my last Hydro Cannon and force the last shield out of them because I'm pretty confident that they don't want to, like, you know, lose swap. But this Vigoroth is so close to a move that I'm not going to be able to counter it down before it reaches it, so I have to send Noctowl out. And here, you know, I'm going to absorb this Body Slam and swap into my Blaziken, throw 2 counters, and I'm able to take out Vigoroth. Unfortunately for me, there is a Noctowl in the back, which is super, super thick, and I thought that Brave Bird would be enough at this point, but as a reminder, Blaziken's not a flying type, so it doesn't actually get stabbed. And then Galvantula comes out, and I barely don't survive the second, what's it called? The second Volt Switch. If I had survived the Volt Switch, I was only one more counter away from reaching a Blaze Kick, which would definitely have KO'd. I needed to either throw one more counter against Noctowl, but realistically, I should have built up a ton more energy because Galv didn't have a move loaded, and, like, you know, Blaziken could have just done more damage, and I could have just shielded a Sky... Like, I should have just farmed, shielded a Sky Attack, and then thrown my Brave Bird. And it's, like, so obvious when I'm watching it, like, in retrospect, but at the time, I was just, like, I don't know, I was just not getting it. So, yeah, I managed to close out that set with a nice fat 0-5. That's actually how I'm ending this video, with a nice fat 0-5. I don't know why I played so badly in that third set. Like, some of those were, like, yeah, the team comps were very, very difficult, but I also definitely botched so many games. So, yeah, Summer Cup. It's a lot of fun. I'm not great at it yet. I'm not sure that's the team that I'm settled on, but it was a team that I played that I had a lot of fun with. And, I mean, technically, this is like a positive, you know, set of 3 sets, because, you know, 4-1, 4-1, and 0-5 is still like 8 wins and 7 losses. So, you know, technically I went positive with that, even though it's a really unconvincing way to end the video. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. I don't know. Don't forget to do the things you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know, don't forget to like and share for the 0-5. Smash that like button for 0-5s. I'll see you on the next one.